What's up, YouTube? This is True Raw for TV, and I want to do a video related to the video that Say Less did. I think it was yesterday, talking about how the media is doing a terrible job, a lazy job, as far as marketing the other stars in the league. And I agree with that. Ticket to the video talking about it too. There was an article that reported that the ratings so far in the playoffs are down 31% from the same point last year. And many people are attributing that to the fact that LeBron James is not in the playoffs. And that is a very steep decline. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that the media, the sports media, are not doing their job. Okay? The narrative for this entire season has been dominated by LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. And what's really making it terrible to me is it's not even all the time, it's oftentimes not even about basketball. Like at one point in time, they were talking about on court stuff, you know what I'm saying? Whether or not LeBron James, and we would do videos talking about it, whether or not LeBron James was declining as a player, whether Luke Walton was the problem, which I think he was. How the chemistry of the Lakers, where LeBron James getting along with his players, his teammates, and things like that. Okay, the injury, and even with the Anthony Davis thing, that's still basketball related. Okay, but then it started getting to they started talking about non-basketball shit or non-on-court stuff or shit that really wasn't relevant. Was Jeannie Buss behind this, or Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka? Like, it gets to the point where these guys are household names. For the most part, if you ask anybody, can you name the general manager of the Sacramento Kings or the Clippers or the Knicks or the Pistons, they're not gonna be able to tell you. But if you ask them who's the general manager of the Lakers, Rob Pelinka. Why is that? Because of the fucking media. Now, look, I understand the ratings being down without the game's biggest star being in the playoffs, but that always happens. When the league was dominated by Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, Wilt Chamberlain, okay, the games were not televised frequently, but nearly as frequently as they are now. But after Bill Russell retired, and then definitely after Wilt Chamberlain retired, the ratings in the NBA started to take a hit. All right. By the mid to late 70s, the NBA ratings started to decline. Okay. And that was just, it was kind of natural. Okay. Like the legendary players at that time of the, yesteryear of the late 50s into the 60s, they were gone. So it takes a while for the public to get acclimated to the new landscape. At that time, you had a young Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Okay, he was kind of carrying the league for a while. And in the 70s, you didn't really have that marquee team for the most part. You had a lot of, now as a basketball purist fan, like a real fan, it was a great time to be a basketball fan because there were so many different really good teams. There wasn't really one great team, but you had a lot of really good teams that were contending for a championship every damn year. You had the Knicks, you had the then Washington Bullets, you had the Golden State Warriors, excuse me. You had the Seattle Supersonics, okay. You had the Chicago Bulls, and yes, they were a good team back in the 1970s. The Milwaukee Bucks, when Kareem was there, and after he was traded, the Lakers were a contender. Okay, so you had a lot of really good teams. The Milwaukee Bucks, after Kareem left, the late '70s, and they started becoming a good team again. Um, so yeah, and then you had like a lot of really good teams. So then after the ABA NBA merger, then you had other stars that started taking over uh, the slack that was left by the other guys leaving. George Gervin, Artis Gilmore, okay, and of course the legendary Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Throw David Thompson in there too. All right. So Julius Erving was carrying the league for a while, but the ratings, weren't what they were prior to the other guys retiring. And then, then came Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, and those guys really took the league to an entirely different level. Look at some NBA final ratings, okay? Now, 1975, the NBA Finals, the Golden State Warriors and Washington Bullets, they averaged, every game of that four-game sweep, averaged 11.4 million viewers. Now, going to the late 70s, you see a downward trend. 1978 NBA Finals between the Washington Bullets and Seattle Supersonics, which the Bullets won 4-3. That series averaged about 9.9 million viewers per game. The very next year, well, these two teams played each other again, but the Sonics won. That series only averaged 7.2 million viewers, okay, in the finals. But throughout the 80s, you saw an upward trend. By 1982, the Lakers-Sixers series averaged 13 million viewers per game. By 1986, when the Celtics beat the Houston Rockets 4-2, you saw an average of 14.1 million viewers uh, per game. Okay. The very next year, when Lakers and the Celtics play each other, boom, that shoots up to 24.1 million viewers. The next year, 21.7 million. The next year, 21.3 million. So these things are cyclical. The league has to market their stars. And if you market your stars effectively, okay, eventually you'll get over the little slack period. You know what I'm saying? And then, you had Michael Jordan come into the league. And when he was playing in the finals, the 91 finals, when it was marketed as Jordan versus Magic, 24 million. The next year, Clyde versus Mike, 21 million. And then Bulls Suns, when it was Michael and, Bulls Barkley, 27 million. Then he retired. And then, yeah, the league's viewership in the playoffs went down. And the Rockets Knicks series in 94, the number was only 17 million. Okay. But then when Michael came out of retirement, the Bulls and Sonics averaged 25 million viewers. Bulls Jazz 25.6 million. And then the 98 finals, which is still the highest rated finals per average, on average 29 million people watched that finals. And the last game of that series, game 6, 36 million people watched that game 6. And the closest that we've come to that since then has been game 7 of the 2010 finals between the Boston Celtics and LA Lakers, when I think game 7 had 28.2 million, and game 7 of the 2016 NBA finals, well, that last game averaged 31 million in viewership. All right. But even when after Michael Jordan retired for good, as far as being a Chicago Bulls concerned, you saw a tremendous hit in the ratings. But eventually, the league, moved on from Michael Jordan. And there were other stars that they were marketing. Allen Iverson. Okay, you had um, Grant Hill still before the injuries. You had Anthony Hardaway. You know what I'm saying? You had young Vince Carter, young Tracy McGrady. You know what I'm saying? Uh, you had Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki. All right. There were a lot of stars, and the NBA eventually, marketed that. I remember they had that little um, slogan, "It's our turn now." You know what I'm saying? Like, and this was reflecting the fact that a lot of the older stars that were in the NBA, Michael Jordan retired, Scottie Pippen was starting to decline as a player, Dennis Rodman eventually retired, Charles Barkley retired, Clyde Drexler retired, Olajuwon fell off, Ewan fell off. You know what I'm saying? All of the old guard were out of there. And eventually the league is going to have to deal with a league without LeBron James. And it's not like there aren't stars out there. There are a lot of stars in the NBA, but they just don't talk about them. And I know what I'm talking about because I can see it on my channel. I noticed that a lot of guys only comment when I talk about LeBron James. Even if I'm talking shit about LeBron James. True Raw, you're the biggest fucking hater I've ever seen in my life. True Raw, you're a fucking hater and all this shit. But they only comment when I talk about LeBron James. I can talk about any other topic. I can talk about basketball history. They don't want to hear about it. They only want to hear me talk about LeBron James, even if I'm shitting on him, in their opinion. Okay? So it's natural that the ratings will be down. But what the media has to do is they have to stop talking about this guy to this extent. It's looking, it's turning off a lot of, it's turning off hardcore sports fans. All right. But at the same time, what it's also reflecting is that you have a lot of casual fans. You have a lot of casual fans who are listening to what guys like Shannon Sharp are talking about, listen to what these other guys are talking about, and they believe it. And as Saylor said, these guys think that these other guys aren't really that good. When you have a guy like LeBron James who has not won a championship in going on 3 years, okay, and you have Kevin Durant who's won the last two final MVPs, and they should be talking about Kevin Durant at least close to how they talk about LeBron James. Does it matter that Kevin Durant, on the world's biggest stage in basketball, has bested his nemesis in 8 out of the last 9 games if they played on the big floor? I mean, look at this playoff so far. We've had James Harden finally stepping up and showing that maybe he can overcome the ghosts of playoffs past and bring his team an NBA championship. I don't think they're going to do that. Okay, you have the Milwaukee Bucks, a young up and coming team that, if they were to somehow win a championship, they would do something for the city of Milwaukee that they haven't seen in nearly 50 years. Look at the Cinderella Spurs. Okay, look what they're doing in the first round. You have all of these great matchups, all these stars, and you're talking about one guy. It's so freaking annoying.